Hold on.
Whew.
See, this is that trigger for YouTube with the new go live thing. So we're going live. All right, guys. I apologize. Y'all didn't see my intro, so I'm going to have to, fix this later. But that's okay. It's Security Happy Hour. I'm Cyber Warrior. This is Cyber Warrior Studios and Security Happy Hour, and we are live for a Christmas special. As you guys will see, I'm not drinking my normal Yingling. I got me a little special drink today. A little moonshine and Mountain Dew going on. But, look, there's a lot to talk about, and we're going to get to it. But to be honest, we have Chris Humphries, who I've never had on the show, and Roperator. Man, that's really what you used as your Twitter handle. I could barely, pronounce it when I haven't
plugged
had
in rookie
anything
operator,
different.
and this is what Twitter spat back to me.
And then, of course, we've got Kim Crawley, who has been on here, I believe, 2 or 3 other times. She tends to show up for every big episode I have, which is awesome. And we'll have more joining us throughout the evening. But to get started, Chris, why don't you do an intro of kind of where you're coming from, how you got into cybersecurity, and what you're doing now?
Well, I've been a programmer and an sysadmin for over 20 years. And I sort of just got into hacking and pen testing as a hobby and decided just to go crazy with it because I was obsessed. And so I got the OSCP, and I just started a job as a pen tester yesterday.
Nice.
And I'm looking at my email. Looks like I'm gonna have to start a pen test Monday. So that'll be fun. Yeah, so that's where I'm at. So.
Nice. Hey, nothing wrong with that. And hey, we just had Davin Jackson of Alpha Cybersecurity join us. Look, hey, I don't know where Ty's at. He's slacking. He's supposed to be here already, but he'll be joining us shortly as well. And a few other people. But, hey, so, Roperator, why don't you let us know kind of where you're at? And FYI, before we go any further, all the ways to contact anybody ever on my show is down below, whether it's LinkedIn, Twitter. The one thing that I preach in cybersecurity is communication, getting along, and building a network. All right, we've got to come together as a unit and as a family to really help things out and help the community. So anytime anybody's ever on, you will find their information down below in the description. Davin, I was not sure if you were going to be able to make it prior to me going live, so I have not added you yet, but you will be in there, guaranteed. So, Roperator, let us know, man. What's going on with you, man?
Well, good evening, all. Thank you for having me on here. I am on the cusp of getting into information security. I'm Marine cop, security contractor. Got my degree and realized, hey, information security. If I could have picked up a keyboard instead of a rifle way back in the day, I could have probably done a world of things differently. Not that I regret anything, but I am in my cybersecurity minor, did all the prep work that I would need to do Network Plus and Security Plus. They were just academic courses, but I did everything but get the cert. And so I'm finishing up a PMP certification before Christmas. If anyone's on the project management side of the house, PMI is rolling out a new test on January 1st. So the past 3 months I spent studying for the 6th edition test. They would do well to do that test now. And then once I get done with that, I'm going to be pivoting to getting right back into the certs so I can look good on the resume and get started in this very broad and deep field.
Hey, nothing wrong with that, man. It is. There's a lot to it. And, yeah, as I recall, you are just kind of getting your feet wet, trying to get into the field, and which is always good to have. And I love having anybody who is trying to break into the field on here. Actually, there's a gentleman on LinkedIn I just connected, or I've been connected to for a while, but he's another vet, and he literally hired somebody with no experience, no certifications, and
I'm glad that he's doing that. That's great.
Nothing, for the sole purpose of he's seen the passion and the willingness to learn and the willingness to do the job. And to see things like that, we need more of that. Granted, it's hard to do because a lot of companies want somebody that has some type of experience, but to see the people willing to hire those with the drive and the passion to learn the field is something that I greatly appreciate. And I know I got one of my first engineer jobs as, hey, you don't have, I didn't have any experience in the technology they were using, but they were like, we see what you can bring to the table, so here you go. Now, granted, I had already had military and certifications, but it was more they saw my ability to learn, not the experience doing what they were looking for. So,
Precisely.
and we just now had Ty Wilson join us of Cover 6 Solutions. Welcome, Ty. Great to
What's
have
going
you.
on, everyone?
Look, there's some other people that are supposed to be joining. I'm hoping they make it. But moving on, Kim, I know you've been on here on so many occasions, but for those that have never seen you on here before, why don't we go one more time? What are you doing now and how things are going for you?
I don't mind because I've been doing a lot of media recently to promote the book that I worked on with Phil Wylie. So I can introduce myself over and over again. And that's fine. I primarily research and write about all areas of cybersecurity, like literally all of them. I really started to get attention contributing to the corporate blogs of like BlackBerry Silence and Benify and Komodo and Sophos, and I still contribute to AT&T Cybersecurity's blog from time to time. But my career is transitioning more into writing books and doing threat research now. So I've got, I just wrote a book with Phil Wylie, which is a guide to pen testing careers. It's mainly targeted to total newcomers, and it's called The Pen Tester's Blueprint, and it's based on the talks that Phil has been giving at various events for the past few years. And yeah, and Chris has a copy, and I'm so excited that the book has been well received. Now that the ink is dry on the contract, I can openly say that I'm working on another book, also to be published by Wylie, but this time I'm working on it on my own. So the publisher hasn't said that I can't, reveal details about the book. So I'll reveal a few just to like get people's appetites wet, I guess. This book focuses more on security hardening advice for businesses.
You getting the exclusive.
Yeah. Hi, Davin. So the tentative title is 8 Ways to Better Security, but the book title might change because it very much is a work in progress right now. I've only started writing like the first 10 pages of it so far, but it's definitely going to come out, so I can talk about that. And I'm talking about other books right now too, so look forward to a lot of new books in the next couple of years.
Are you sure it's only 8 ways?
Well, I think it's 8 steps. Sorry, it's getting late. I need more caffeine. I find that it's much easier for people to grasp a topic when you make like a numbered list. So
sure.
That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to like explain to business people now how they should approach cybersecurity.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And I look forward to seeing that come out. Heck, I look forward to anything you put out, to be honest. Any success you have. Daniel Meyerson just joined us. Welcome, Daniel. Good to have you on. You. So we're still just doing introductions. Like I said, we got a lot to talk about. But before we get into it, Davin, why don't you give us a rundown? Dude, you are blowing up on Twitter and YouTube and doing so much right now with Alpha Cybersecurity and your YouTube channel and stuff. Let us know, man. What's going on?
Thank you. Thank you for having me back. I was trying to make the Thanksgiving show, but we were stuck in traffic and I didn't want to do it from the phone. Nothing, man. I've just been working. I actually just hopped off Dewan Lightfoot's Lab Every Day video podcast literally like 10-15 minutes before I jumped onto this one. But I'm Davin Jackson, also known as DJax Alpha. I run Alpha Cybersecurity. I also host the InfoSec Unplugged video podcast on YouTube. Just been, going through interviewing the interesting people. I had Kim and Phillip on last week to talk about their book, The Pen Tester Blueprint, which I also wrote a review on my blog site. Yesterday, I just had Mary Galloway on, who is just an amazing individual. If you guys aren't familiar with her, please go check her out and support her. And she actually will talk me into next week live. I'm going to be the host and the guest, so anybody who clicks the link can jump on the live next Wednesday, because I don't want to do it Thursday for Christmas Eve, but I'm gonna do it next Wednesday. Anybody could jump on the live stream, ask me any questions or give any well wishes, and we're just gonna celebrate the holiday that way. But I'm going to be the interviewee this week. So yeah, that's just pretty much what I've been up to.
Yeah, man, I'm not kidding. I cleared my whole calendar as far as YouTube goes next week. I'm not doing a single show, a single podcast. I'm actually taking next week off of YouTube because I was like, you know what? I'm going to do another big blowout for New Year's Eve, and everybody's welcome once again. But next week for the holidays is like, you know what? Been going at it a little strong. I'm going to take a week off. But yeah, man, I'll definitely tune in Wednesday. As long as I don't have anything going on, I'll be there. Like I said, man, I got to get caught up on your show for sure, because you've had a lot of cool people on there that I got to check out. And just seeing InfoSec Unplugged, and what you're doing with the show and the channel is something amazing. So I look forward to seeing more of what you do.
Appreciate it. Like I said, try similar, platform. But like I said, just got everybody on. I actually had Ty. Ty was the first guest, the first unofficial guest. So I guess we got to circle back around and actually do it officially this time, Ty. But yeah, like I was just gonna jump on live, and Ty was like, "Let's do it." So
nice.
So like I said, but I interviewed Ty. I've had Kim and Phillip last week. Mary this week. I've had InfoSec Sherpa. I had De'Ara J. Footman. I had John Breath. So and January is lining up to be. I don't want to reveal that just yet, but I have that, and I also am going to do like a town hall. Since we're dropping exclusives here, since Kim gave you the exclusive, I'm probably gonna have a town hall style setting show where I'm gonna have some hiring managers and recruiters on, and we can pick their brain about, as Kim so eloquently put it on my show last week, what the fuck they're looking for.
Nice. It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
So yeah, so I'm gonna set that up. Hopefully that'll be January. If not January, definitely February.
So I do got one more show that I want to make note of. January 8th is my birthday, and yes, I will be doing a birthday show, because that's how I roll.
Capricorns.
So that is gonna happen. But moving on, Ty, as you're next in my Zoom screen, let's move on to you, brother. Dude, you hit me up so many times, and I know I said I'd call you, but just like you, due to me, I ghosted you on accident. So we do have to touch base. But fill me in, man. Beyond, you got so much. I swear, your Discord channel blows up with new people coming in every day. Like, I think you're one of the few channels I still have alerts for on my phone, and I'm like, who they join? Oh, Cover 6. Okay, so they got a new member to the class. Nice.
well, first time caller, long time listener. No, what's going on? I just try to keep myself busy. December has been really, really good. Lots of engagements, pen tests, assessments is what we're focusing on right now. Ramping up for the Attack and Defend workshop, which is going to start on the 5th. And just trying to keep up with what everyone else is doing. Like everyone's like doing crazy great things, and I'm just happy to see it all. And then I'm here. Thanks for having me again. And I wanna learn about, you know, Chris and Dan and everyone else I don't know. Roperator.
I'm just changing it to my first name.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, operator. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it. Let's get it. Are we sober or no?
Look, I told Chris earlier today. So hold up, let me do my real
Okay.
quick. This is some blue raspberry moonshine
Uh-huh.
with Mountain Dew.
Okay.
I've been going steadily. Well, I've been pacing myself since my happy hour with work at like 3
Yeah.
o'clock. So
I totally forgot to refill my.
I was smart, filled my mug with ice, so I don't have to get up from my desk to get more.
That's why the Yeti was invented. There was some guy drinking at his desk who got tired of running out of ice.
There you go. So,
Okay, so-
yeah, man, like it's
Unrelated question. What the hell is going on with Twitter and carp right now? I just logged back in, and every time I turn around, I see carp is trending.
what is
Carp, like the fish.
really?
Oh, I know what that's about. Someone found this really grotesque photo of a carp looking all weird, like as fish
Mhm.
sometimes look like if you shoot them at a certain angle, and it went viral. Just
Are we
because it
talking
looked
regular
weird.
carp or one of the invasive Asian carp?
I have no idea. I'm not an expert on fish.
All right. Hey, I
It's
honestly, I don't
it's
know.
just a
I
weird-
haven't seen that, Davin, at all.
Yeah, it's just a weird thing to log back into Twitter and like, what the hell is carp? And then
Yeah. So, finalizing who we have on right now, and I'm really mad. Phillip, if you're listening, I'm really mad you're not here because you said you were going to
Yeah.
be. But that's okay. I still love you. Daniel, man, do your introduction, and then we got to get into the topic of the, week,
Do we? Really?
year. Like,
Okay.
y'all know what we're going to talk about, so we're going to get into it.
Well, I mean, I appreciate being here. I always feel like the least infosec person in any group. I'm just generally here to listen and learn always. But I'm a privacy lawyer, Privacy Lawyer D on Twitter. I try to keep my. I'm sorry, what?
I was saying down below. I already got you in there.
Yeah. I try not to link that much because I work for a federal agency. So I try to avoid linking my Twitter handle to my real name. And a lot of the privacy law work that I do actually do outside of my agency, and I learn all this stuff because I'm just fascinated by all of this. And so it's great because I love learning how to speak the language so that eventually when I have to talk to some bureaucrat in charge, some lawyer in charge, that I can explain what all of this stuff means, because they certainly don't take the time to understand. And that's hopefully, what I'm here for, is just to be a translator for all of you so that eventually when somebody in charge needs to make a decision, they actually understand the ramifications of what they're doing.
Yeah, for sure. And with everything going on right now, you're going to see a lot of privacy issues. I'm not going to get to the second topic, which would be governments right now wanting to implement backdoors in like encrypted messaging services.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
I thought we were going to talk about cyberpunk. Oh, we're not.
Yo,
I mean, like-
Cyberpunk is on point. Let's not get
You
it
mean,
twisted. I've been playing that like crazy.
Oh, I thought we were talking about it getting removed from the Sony store. Oh, we're talking about something else.
Dude,
well,
it
But
got
you
removed from the Xbox store
you
too,
mentioned-
Davin. You missed it.
You mentioned Sony and backdoors. Are we talking like Mariah Carey type backdoors from back in the day?
So let's be honest. All right, so the big topic of the year, really, and honestly, if they would have caught it earlier when they were told about it, it could be potentially the past, I don't know, year and a half, is SolarWinds, right? So we've seen SolarWinds, and I pulled up a FireEye article, which it's funny that they coincided with each other, FireEye and SolarWinds. I find that comical, and I think there's more to it than people are letting on. But You look at SolarWinds being breached, and then you look at FireEye being breached, and you look at the government being breached within the U.S. And then on top of that, FireEye is talking about this is global. So there's a lot of companies that have, globally that have utilized SolarWinds, and they've all been they're gone. Like
so FireEye said globally, SolarWinds said 18,000. Microsoft says 40 out of the Fortune 500.
Microsoft says they weren't breached by whatever. Like they tried to like pull back and be like, "Oh, we weren't." They didn't get us.
After saying that 40 of the Fortune 500 were hit.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's crazy because I look at it, right? And there's a lot to it, and we can get into theories, we can get into whatever you want, but at the end of the day, everybody's trying to CYA, right? It's all about cover your ass. I'm not responsible. It wasn't me. I wasn't breached. I can tell you right now, via
I don't want my stock
contact
taking
I
a
have,
hit.
that when Google went down, last week? I think it was earlier this week, something like that. Yeah, that was SolarWinds.
Days for sure.
That was the SolarWinds hack.
It was Sunday and Monday. Google went down Sunday afternoon into Monday.
That was SolarWinds. That was.
Was it that long, or was it for like 20, 30 minutes?
No.
They were down for a while.
It was down and selected in certain areas.
Maybe I slept through it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They time frame. Yeah.
They weren't down like completely everywhere.
It was no, they said it was an issue with an update, like with a patch they were doing.
Oh yeah, of course they'd CYA. Of course they'd cover their ass. No, I've got let's just say I know, or at least I'm about 90% certain. All right, that it was SolarWinds.
Well, shoot, if we're playing connect the dots, then shoot. Who's to say that when AWS went down a couple weeks ago?
So I have another question.
Look at the past year.
About it?
What'd you say?
What are we going to do about it? I mean,
what are we going to do about it?
Are we going to keep doing CYA? Are we going to keep being punching bags? It's job security, but
that's
what are we
the
going to
big
do about
thing,
it,
man.
right? How long are we going to keep getting slapped?
Look at the government. The government got slapped around.
You want the government prediction? You want the government prediction of what's going to happen? My prediction, and I've been in DHS meetings. I've been in cross-agency meetings. They're going to do a task force. They're going to ramp up a whole bunch of people, and it's hard to see sometimes because over the years, I've seen people go into meetings. I've seen people go into these meetings. There are some people who are the believers, who are really the advocates and really trying to carry as much water as they can. And then they just face a certain level of bureaucracy and certain level of pushback when it comes to, we have to invest what in infrastructure?
Well, isn't that the classic that no one knows? No one wants to deal with security until they get hit, right?
Absolutely.
And with the government, can we even get enough of them to freaking agree that they were indeed hit, or actually publicly say we were hit? The moment it went down, I shouldn't have to be able to get my information on a breach from Twitter before I get it from anywhere else. They're only
right.
I mean, no matter what news site you look at, they only started reporting on it like heavily, maybe in the last 48 hours.
But beyond that,
we've been talking about it. FireEye was last week,
and beyond that, SolarWinds was notified last year of this possibility. Last year.
So, but that goes that goes to Ty's point. What are we going to do about it, right? Because when you run into situations like and I guarantee you, somebody looked at it from SolarWinds. If that is indeed accurate, and they said, well, it's going to require too much work to fix. It's going to require some type of rewrite or downtime. And all they see is, even though in the bigger picture it's the same thing, all they see is downtime equals lost revenue equals pissed off shareholders and investors in the quarterly meetings, right? And now, right, and that's what I'm saying. But now, but now look, they're still dealing with it. The people are the floodgates have opened and people are losing it anyway. And now you hear that so was it SolarWinds that you heard that they've been dumping their stock prior to. So
280.
I've seen that
Coincidence.
same
A lot of
article.
insider trading.
It's a $280 million coincidence.
I seen that same article where you had stockholders, owners within the company that dumped stock prior to releasing the fact that this happened, which means they knew about it how long in advance? I'm gonna guarantee at least 2 days before they dumped their stock.
Okay, so you're saying last year, the reports are saying that whether it's
They held off until companies were breached. They held
Right,
off
they held-
until
but
the
what I'm
DLLs
saying is-
were there.
from what they see, they can confirm right now that most of these companies have been hit since March. They've been sitting on these networks since March. And again, we're not talking, Department of Agriculture, Commerce, nuclear energy.
I think Department of Treasury too.
Yeah, nuclear energy, right?
Yeah, DOE. Yep.
Okay, so if you've been sitting on this, and this isn't just some mom and pop store, right? And to Ty's point, we can sit here and talk about it. And what's unfortunately what's going to happen is we're going to have this conversation here. There's going to be plenty of other conversations. Keytron just did a talk. I missed it this afternoon.
Dude, I was working. I missed it too.
Right. Jake did a talk on Monday with Sands. Everybody's going to have their talks. Everybody's going to have their facts. Everybody's going to have their opinions. And guess what?
No one's
3
listening.
months, 3 months, no one's going to talk about it.
Because here's what's going to happen. And honestly, Kim, Chris, David, Daniel, anybody chime in. But here's what happens, and here's what always happens is, the government for one. Let's look at it. Now, me as someone based in the U.S., right? And a lot of us, I believe most of us are based in the U.S., see the way the U.S. government is. And regardless of who's there, cyber has never been a priority. Cybersecurity has never been a priority.
Absolutely correct.
So we have, and I don't care who's listening. I don't care who watches. I don't care when I put this up on the podcast who's listening.
I care.
We have the worst cybersecurity in the government. Like, downright. Private corporations have better security than our government does.
Yeah, but I have a theory about the solar winds thing. I haven't looked at any technical details, quite honestly. I try to start with the big picture first. If solar winds executives were engaging in some sort of securities fraud because they knew that their platform was fucked, I think corporate culture does eventually trickle down to the quality of the security product. I wonder if they've been doing shit similar to, game developers like CD Projekt Red, for instance, where because the priorities of the company is like next quarterly profits, that maybe they've been engaging their own developers in a lot of crunch time and maybe laying off, patch development people and whatnot, and expecting fewer people to do a lot more work and maybe put in 80-hour weeks and shit like that. And
we get glitchy cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Hey, look, it works great on PC. Don't judge PC. It works great.
If you promise it to work on a platform, it better work on that platform.
Yeah, I hear you. But
getting back to quickly what I would like to see, what I really hope is going to happen is, as much as our country was not ready for and latter response to 9/11 was not great. One of the things that was actually, I think, a success was the 9/11 Commission reports, and that actually started the foundation of a lot of my public safety and homeland security reports. And really, I say that because it was actually taking an in-depth look on what the hell happened, and if we can, my guess is that's the best case scenario for a federal response to all of this, is to actually get people in there so they can do a report, so they can figure out, get all this shit together and say, okay, what do we have to do to actually make our country secure? Because I know from anecdotal evidence, and I know from some stuff about volunteering on the campaign, I know I'm just Speaking
Not
of,
have Rudy Giuliani as your head of cybersecurity.
Oh,
That's a start.
I
Yeah.
wasn't gonna talk about that.
Oh my
Let's
goodness!
not fire Chris Krebs. Shh.
Yeah.
Don't. I mean, I could. Don't get me started on his.
Let's not get into that.
But
Ty
no, but
What's email?
no, but I mean, honestly, if the Senate, if the Georgia races go right for the Democrats, and if it's actually feasible for Biden to get his nominees in Senate approval without facing too much pushback, then there's a chance that my friends at the SEC will be looking into all of these people who dumped their stock before the announcement's made, that we actually could start some real government response, that CISA could get funded and properly, and that there would be a unified federal cyber response.
You're not going to get it, but
So
let's go with Ty.
Go
Yeah,
ahead, Ty.
I'm happy you touched on that because I was going to bring that up. So a couple things: the views and opinions expressed by Cyber Warrior are those of Cyber Warrior. alone. I know a lot of people that are
opinions.
Yeah, I know
These are my opinions. I am not a. I do
my
not speak.
opinions are my own, and I believe we have crappy cybersecurity within the government. Aside from offensive, defensive, we're horrible.
Okay, so to my peeps that are working in the government, I know you guys are doing some great things. I was there for years. I would give you hugs if I could, right? The other thing is I touched about, our response, and I like the fact that Daniel brought up, having some type of mechanism where we can have proper response and mitigation mechanisms, right? So it seems like the first thing that we want to do is harp on the bad things that happen, make jokes and all that, when we can put a lot of effort into helping a lot of these companies that are broken right now. And I feel like, these things are inevitable, right? And when you have an organization that has so much of your network infrastructure the way SolarWinds does, and these things happen, then this is what you're going to get. But I believe we can learn from that. We can combat that by having some type of mechanism that everyone can turn to where they can learn what the proper attribution was. So we're not, when we do try to fight back, we're not going after the wrong people.
But you said the right word there. You said attribution.
Mm-hmm.
And how many articles, how many people within the media, within everything else, jump to immediately, this is Russia. I swear, within a half hour to an hour of me hearing the news, there was articles out there saying, this is Russia. Like, it looks like it was, this is.
Well, I heard Russia, and then I also heard China.
Yeah.
I didn't hear China yet, but I've seen a lot of Russia.
Russia and China. And then when I started looking at some of the stuff, they said everything on Monday. So you're right. Last week it was Russia. Then it went from it was Russia, then it was Russia or China. Then it was like allegedly, and then by Monday it started to turn into.
According to so and so.
According to the so and so.
Yeah.
It's pointing to APT 29 or Cozy Bear. But back to Daniel and to Ty, just keep me honest. Has Biden or anything on the transition announced since this happened? Have they announced anybody who they said will be their cybersecurity pick?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Not that, but they've been really good. The transition team, all of them, they have been excellent, and I mean excellent at like zero leaks. Mm-hmm. The discipline. I've been proud to do the policy work that I've been doing. I can't even talk about it, but zero leaks. They've been really just really good about it. They will have a response for this, and I'm actually looking forward to it.
My thing is,
I am too. Hold on, real quick. My point is, I thought, in my opinion, and I'm not I'm not a political person.
Me neither.
I have my own opinions on both sides of the aisle. They both can kick rocks for all I care. But I think it would have been advantageous or beneficial to say something. You know what I'm saying? Rather than just a general, yeah, this is whatever. We need to look into it from the transition, right? Because
but is that I don't think that's their place right now.
He can but they can have press conference every day announcing who's going to run this department, who's going to run this,
for them. But when they speak for the nation, I don't think
So what I'm saying is,
right now.
Even if they said on January 20th, this is who we're going to. Like
Well,
in my ideal mind, what I would love is for them to say on January 20th, we're bringing back Krebs, right? Or something. Just announce something that shows somebody who has some competency that people in the industry either respect or trust. So we can say, okay, at least we know something is coming. And right now, the silence is, to me, the silence is deafening.
And that's the big thing for me is about the community trusting, right? Who can the community trust? We know Chris Krebs knew his shit. Let's be honest. A lot of people knew Chris Krebs knew his shit. And the fact is, if you're not going to mention anything about cyber, especially after this, especially the fact that the entire government just about is breached. Like, there's a lot of places, a lot of organizations within government that are breached, and you're not going to announce anything. That's a problem. And I don't want to get political. That's not the point to this channel. But I hear what you're saying.
There's an old school method to this acting, and this is what I think is going on right now. The old playbook of politics and all this stuff is that when a serious incident goes down, when a serious disaster goes down, if you're not part of the incident response, and if you're not in a certain chain, you don't really talk about it, and you kind of wait your turn and to speak at a certain time, because you don't want to. You want the people who are responding to the incident to have the mic. And so that to me is my one thought on why it's quiet right now. My other thought is, much like we've seen before, cyber has never really been a priority of any element of the U.S. government. And so because of that, I can tell you I can't tell you, but my best guess, the transition team is now flipping their priorities, because I mean, how many different appointed officials did they have to decide? Okay, crap, who are we gonna select for this role in the cabinet? Now they have to kind of shift their focus and be like, oh, we know we have a binder here that people drafted up about the cyber response. We need to actually make those decisions now, because I'll tell you, selecting cyber people is not on the priority of a transition team immediately, but they're doing it now. I promise you, over this weekend.
Like, I can assure you, there are a ton of analysts on the government side with, under the classified channels that have been all over this. But I just feel like out of fear of having the wrong information get out, they would just much rather be quiet about it and then rely on whoever their primary PR person is to put that information out, so so it's clear and concise, and there's no do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like it's really an ongoing investigation, if you want to look at it that way, right? So you don't want to say the wrong things until you have all of the information.
Well,
spot on.
Yeah, it makes sense. And David, I know you got a lot to say. You've been looking to talk, man, and trying to jump
get in there.
I blame Ty for you not being able to talk.
He's doing a double dutch. He's like,
but go ahead, Dave. What you got, man?
Well, it's just one of those things too. It's like the dust hasn't settled on this. How long after 9/11 did that commission report come out? And then who in the general sense of people, where information security isn't just that annoying thing that you have to do 2FA for, actually went through and read the 9/11 Commission, who read that and was able to actually appreciate the technical detail. I've read bits and pieces of it, but the people who are going to probably start writing and doing the after action for what this most recent attack was, they still might be junior analysts, because it's going to take so much time to unpack. How long did it take for APT 29 or Cozy Bear to actually get proper? This is what it is, and we know that this is the signature. Now they're actually finally able to make attributions to it. A lot of it is jumping the shark, and people want to get their hot takes right away.
So,
as their statements, but it's still too soon. It's still too soon to say anything.
The 9/11 Commission reports, the final version was released in July of 2004.
Yeah.
So from a formal government perspective, honestly, we're looking at to find out what's going on, to have the report, to have the recommendations, to start to institute the recommendations after Biden's presidency.
So
Yes.
so here's the thing, right? We keep talking about APT 29, and the last thing I saw from FireEye about the solar winds is UNC 2452. So someone please clarify, because I know every company likes to come up with their own names.
So
Can I make one more point?
Go ahead, Ty.
So just one more point about that information getting out. I don't know if you've noticed it, but if you've watched Dave's talk on Fox, right? There's like gonna always be a political spin to it.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say the information does get out, and it was the Russians, and somehow they try to tie.
Which Dave Kennedy?
Yes, and they somehow try to tie this breach by the Russians to election security. Imagine, the ramifications of all that.
Oh, that's already been. I saw that on Monday. I felt
Right, so we gotta
go down that loophole on Monday.
Yeah, but we got to try to make sure that we don't let that happen.
Yeah, I fell down that worm. I saw when I was doing my research, I fell in that wormhole, that conspiracy theory, on Monday.
Chris,
But
go ahead, Davin.
but to your point about which is the UNC 2754 or whatever it is. From my understanding, that's their designation, where essentially they're saying they don't want to definitively say APT 29, but this is their classification. They're saying we think it's APT 29, so we're going to give them this number here.
I mean, that's possible. And I know every company gives its own designation. I mean, we see, like you said, we got APT 29, Cozy Bear. How many different names for how many different APT groups that all link to the same, depending on which organization you look at. But like my thing is, it's to me. So I was talking to my dad earlier today. All right, and he works for a company and deals with like the whole GRC aspect of things. And where he works, he was talking about supply chain and how we can get involved with this. And I told him, I was like, there was nothing you could do from a company standpoint because it hit the update server. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, please. Anybody here who's done more research than I have, which I'm sure some of you probably have, but it hit the update server of Solaris. That's how this got passed down, this breach, because they hit the update server of Solaris. And so there was nothing you could do. If you were there, you were good. And then all of a sudden, back in March, this went out. It was packed in a DLL. It was signed by, Solaris, somebody else, and it was sent out. So from a supply chain standpoint, if nobody knew or nobody said anything, rather, then no company was exempt. If you pushed out that update to your Solaris, you weren't exempt from being breached. You just weren't.
As a former sysadmin, that's one of the things we have implicit trust with. Is a supply chain or updates from big vendors. You figure they have it together. I'm not going to audit this large program. I'm trying to get my job done.
Being
So I
able
don't-
to digitally sign stuff is immense power and responsibility.
And that was the thing, is it was digitally signed. All they did was switch out the DLL. If my research is correct, all they did was flip a DLL. So the whole thing was digitally signed, and it was just one DLL that was flipped out that gave them access to whatever system updated Solaris to that version. If my research is correct, and again, I could be wrong. I will never say I'm 100% correct. But from what I've read, that's what it was. It was one DLL, and they flipped it on the update server for Solaris. So if you updated your Solaris version, you got that DLL, and you were officially breached. And that's back in March, I believe it was.
Yikes.
Yeah. So
So what you're saying is we still might not have the end all be all to.
Well, yeah, I mean that's how the Shadow Hammer malware got put in with the ACES systems. Was it last year when China did when China did the Shadow Hammer malware in the ACES updates? It's very similar to that.
My wife been running ACES
So-
forever, man. I hope she wasn't hit.
so how about them Celtics?
Yeah, man, it's crazy though, because when you think about it, supply chain is everything, and we've preached. A lot of people have preached it for a while. You gotta and really authenticate your supply chain. But if you're going with big vendors, a lot of times, and like Chris said, you don't go through the the auditing process fully, because you're trusting SolarWinds, you're trusting Cisco, you're trusting whomever it may be to provide these updates and provide this service. Same as Microsoft. And I believe there's been more than SolarWinds that's been hit with a supply chain, like their update server being breached, to where an update actually infected systems. It wasn't like an infection, like somebody opened a phishing email. It was within that update service. And I can't remember all of them, but SolarWinds is just the latest and the largest because of how widespread they are. So if we look at it, and if we're trying to get ahead of that, how do you find it, right? So there's FireEye, there's Microsoft, and there's a few other places that I'm sure are coming out with services. And the FireEye article I was reading talks about, use our service to find all these things, right? But the reality of it is, if they're in, you can stop the SolarWinds, and you can stop a lot of the things that this one particular group may have done. But now, how many people realize you've been breached and are now going after that same service you are?
I have another question, because I worked with BlackBerry Silence until recently, and one of their favorite things that they've been on about is zero trust, zero trust, zero trust. And I'm not an application security expert, but I wonder how zero trust could have been implemented in that software supply chain so that no patch goes between vectors without being, scrutinized first, instead of just automatically trusting a vendor's vector.
So maybe we wouldn't have seen it at all, right? So maybe we would have been blind to that whole authentication mechanism and that traffic flow, and it would have just been inherently trusted, through their whatever zero trust mechanism they have, or whatever single sign-on device they have, and we wouldn't have seen anything at all. So maybe it wouldn't have been a good thing after all.
Well, as I understand it, with zero trust, it is that very skeptical, more than it doesn't presume that you're safe. It assumes that you are not. And
Exactly.
It's, I think, Kim, what you said, you talk about BHIS, is that who you're referring to? Because I was thinking the same thing, just
any of the vectors, because obviously the code, the problematic code that SolarWinds deployed as a patch, which was like digitally signed and everything, obviously there was some sort of problem with that, that's for sure. So if maybe the whole supply chain, this is like a general concept, It's not, I'm not just talking about the specific incident. This is the big picture. Could zero trust be more implemented into these software update supply chains? Because
possibly one of the things I look at, and I read an article, again, I've been reading since this time, a lot of articles. One of the things I saw was there was a think tank that was breached via this SolarWinds attack, and they got past MFA because of a Duo, and they were using Duo. There's basically an automatic cookie that you can grab from one of the servers, and whenever Duo sees that cookie, it says, "Oh, you've supplied MFA, you're good to go." And so they were logging in remotely to OWA, supplying the username and password, but then bypassing MFA because Duo would see the cookie and automatically authenticate. So even if you have zero trust with the supply chain, right, and you're authenticating this stuff, if because you brought up MFA and things like that, you're seeing different ways that people are exploiting and bypassing all these mechanisms. So no matter what we put in place, people are finding ways around. And I believe in zero trust. I believe in network segmentation. I believe that all these things can help, but without the proper detection and prevention measures, you're still out in the wind. So you got to have the right people in place. So no matter what you do from an engineering standpoint, from a security standpoint, if the people aren't there, you're SOL anyways.
I think it's also like zero trust is good as a concept, but I think if there's like no optics between the layers, then it doesn't really matter, because you're still working with that implicit trust relationship with no monitoring. So who cares if the components were compromised? You would never know. But for me, as like a technical implementer, it really is all about trust from a sysadmin point of view, because if something's compromised, I don't really care how it's compromised. The trust is gone.
And that's the thing is, what I've seen a lot of times happen is people will delay Microsoft patches and either not patch their switches or routers or whatever the case, regardless, because we can't bring them down. But they'll delay Microsoft patches because they got to validate them. But they won't validate their hardware. They won't validate the patches they push out to these things. To them, all they got to do is update. And I see SolarWinds is the same concept, right? They're not looking at that from a vulnerability perspective. They're looking at that as a, will it bring me down? Will it take down my network or my communication? Will it still function? If it still functions, then they're not looking at it from a security perspective. They're looking at it from, are the lights still blinking perspective? And that's where the big ticket item comes into play. Is, as a security person, we all look at it as, well, what are the security risks? As a sysadmin, and yes, I've been help desk, I've been IT support, I've been system administration, I've been network administration. You look at it from the blinking lights, or is it functioning? Not, is it secure? And I think SolarWinds falls into that same realm of, is it still monitoring my shit like it's supposed to? Yes, it is. Okay, we're good.
I think it's going to open up a potentially new subset of security opportunities, which from the emergency management, homeland security response, getting hit by a natural disaster, getting hit by a terrorist attack, you don't just prepare for those, you expect them to happen. So the subset of I'm just going to wait to see people who are like, okay, assuming you're going to be hit, here's my product that will secure, it's like a second layer of internal that we're the mitigation people. I'm expecting to see people who are going to specialize in this is the mitigation response. That's our focus, as opposed to just the frontline security. I mean, because eventually, you have to expect that you're going to be hit. So how do you respond quicker? How do you deal with the problem quicker? How do you detect quicker? All of those things. That's what I'm waiting to see.
Yeah, for sure. How do we? But to the point that other people have made, how do we fix this? How do we fix a problem of SolarWinds was breached and now it's global? How do we fix the problem of, the issues going on? And Ty, you're the one that brought up the question. So what do we do, man?
I think you just learn how to respond faster, right? It's kind of like a hurricane or a tornado, right? We know it's going to happen. So how do we rebuild from that when it happens, right? How do we learn from it? And what do we do to be better and help everyone else when it does happen?
Yeah.
I think that could be the way forward in the focus.
I wonder if it's pragmatic or feasible for more entities to have SOCs.
To have
like security
SOCs?
operation,
Yeah.
have security operation centers. Like obviously for businesses that don't have the resources to have their own SOCs, maybe there should be more SOCs providing services to like 100 smaller businesses, exactly, so that they can share resources that way.
But I will say this: there are a hell of a lot of MSSPs, so security providers, MSS. Add that extra S in there, that provide SOC as a service, right? You look at places like Critical Start, Presidio, the list goes on. There's so many of them out there that do that type of thing. So as a small business, but here's the problem though, and you said it when you said small business, they don't gear towards that. So from the small business perspective, it's hard to come by, right? Because you don't have the money to fund an MSSP, right, to pay them, but you don't have the money to fund a SOC yourself. Whereas from the medium to large size business, a lot of times they'll make deals, they'll make it happen for you. But what do you do internally? So you're not going with an MSSP, and you may hire one analyst and one engineer. Like there's a lot of, we need people, but not so much we're going to give you the money for the architecture, the security, and everything else you need to find things like this. But to that point, at the same time, we have issues where, how do you find something like this? What's it take to truly find, if that certificate is trusted, everything's there, everything lines up, how do you find the breach when something that is implicitly trusted is there?
So
That's the $1 million question,
yeah, I was gonna say,
right?
I think it's to Ty's point.
A risk, high impact.
But
That's it.
I do know a company that can help train your SOC people.
So do I. Cover 6 Solutions. I know them.
So
They're good
yeah,
people.
I was gonna
We
say,
battle that all the time, right? So we've had those conversations for the longest time. Like all of the SOCs I've ever worked in, they would always complain, why doesn't the government stop this from happening to us? And we would say,
They can't.
sure, right? We can help you, but you have to give us control of your network. And no one wants that to happen, but it's more than that, right? It's the smaller companies that have LLCs, right? They're not going to invest in a SOC, right? There's no profit in security, right? And if you're going to get a bigger lock, you're just paying more money for a bigger lock, right? So if you can find a way to have security make the company money, then people are going to focus on it.
There is,
But
because if you don't provide that security and that company gets hit, especially a small business, they, unlike your Fortune 500s and your larger companies out there that provide Lord knows how much money for insurance and everything else to provide LifeLock and all this other BS. small businesses cannot afford a breach. They cannot afford their clientele being out there in the wind because they can't they can't protect them. They can't provide LifeLock a lot of the time. So that security aspect is huge because they need it. And so it is technically to their benefit because it's going to cost them more in the long run to pay out. Because let's be honest, IR and getting your systems up and running is going to cost more than paying some MSSP or some SOC analyst or an engineer. And as a small business, especially if you have less than, I'd say, 100 employees, you can get away with one engineer and one analyst.
Okay, I'll be the Cyber Warrior Studio primary SOC analyst, MSP.
I'll take it. You're all under volunteer though because I don't make any money because I don't have enough. I don't have enough. I don't make any money. Legitimately, I make $0. So go ahead. You could be it under volunteer rates.
That's where I'm going to have to focus on my book because it seems that is one of the absolute biggest problems in our industry is how do you convince the suits, the non-technical corporate executives, the money men to fucking spend money on security? Because I am so cynical, I'm convinced that all they care about is next quarter.
Well, I was gonna say that.
Exactly.
To me, it has to be it's more. It's so many layers to it. There's got to be a mindset and a culture reset. To the point of there's no money in cyber. Well, guess what? There's also no money when your business goes out of business because you didn't take cyber seriously.
Yeah, but I'm going to get a $50 million parachute even if I tank the company.
Agreed.
And I'll be hired by another company.
Agreed. And again, and back to your point from our talk last week, they also need to know what the hell they're looking for. You can't sit there and say I want to have I'm gonna hire just who I think's gonna fit, but not actually know what the role entails. You have, we've all seen them. We've seen some of these damn job postings where they want everything but the kitchen damn sink for an entry level position. You need to actually have somebody in there who can speak the language, who understands it, who fucking knows what's going on. Because if you don't, then you're not gonna have the right people in the right places. So, and again, all of that costs money. Because at the end of the day, they're just going to grab whoever they can and try to make the most profit off of them. And they might not be well prepared. They might not have the knowledge. They might not be able to afford a tie to come in there and say, all right, let me secure your shit. Right? No, they're going to bring in someone else and they're going to go, great. So we brought you in to be help desk, but we're going to cross train you. And we want you to now look at this and be a SOC analyst and a pen tester and all this other shit and overwork the hell out of you because it's all about the bottom line. So there's so many layers that has to happen. And unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen until we have unfortunately a 9/11 level event in cyber. What that is, maybe, I don't know, electrical grid, some shit, I don't know.
I don't know. Google just went
I
down.
think we might be looking
week,
at that right now
week.
because we don't know the end result of what's been breached, what's been taken, how much. I mean, this could be the 9/11 of cyber that people have been talking about for years, but ultimately we won't know for a while. We won't know until
for like 7 months. Is the happy number that you find out like this is how deep it went.
That's a good point, Dan. Like it's the fallout from this is going to take some time, but it's not going to stop business, right? It's not going to stop production. People have to eat. You need to have these companies. They need to do business. They're not going to stop business unless you want everyone to start writing on pens and paper and sending pigeons again.
Yo, let's go
But
back to
even
pigeon
then-
messengers. That'll be awesome.
Right.
Well, it's.
But then they'll find a way to breach pigeons.
Dang it.
Well, the
pigeon in the middle attack.
The datagrams over carrier pigeons RFC, I think, does take into account failure.
UDP.
On the culture aspect of it, though, the smarter minds that are going to prevail in the small business world, they're the commentary I keep hearing about it is that, wow, we are trying to build security into the cloud now that the cloud is this completely vast and incalculable thing. Well, we need to secure that now, don't we? Well, shit, we're kind of out of luck there, and we're trying to do everything on the back end. And the stuff I'm getting from my project management stuff, I've been studying the hell out of it, is that you build quality into your product instead of trying to build it in after the fact. So again, going back to Kim, if you're trying to sell a suit, we need more security. You're kind of effed already, because they're not going to sign off on anything that means a damn. And you're going to go back with the pennies that you got for your budget to make do for your Fortune 500. But the upcoming Fortune 500 companies that are decades in the making, they're going to survive by sheer virtue of the fact they built in security from the start. And the people who are going to build those organizations are paying attention now to these kind of errors. And maybe they won't have the full-time tie on board when they start their company, but when you pick up the LLC, you get to more than 10 people. Maybe we need to, well, let's go ahead and involve a SOC as a service or something to that scale to just make sure that we are doing things the right way.
But
And again,
how do you? All right. So here's my big thing, and it's been huge for a while for me, and it's just been something that's been in my mind. Every company that I have seen, every MSSP, every MSP, every you name it, wants to go after that bottom dollar, right? They want the revenue stream coming in. So they're going to go after that mid to large size business. They may start out small business oriented, but the ideal situation for them is to bring in as much revenue as quickly as possible. So with that being the case, even if we secure all the Fortune 500s, let's just say we are, let's just say 500s, all the large corporations and everything else like that are secure. What's going to happen to the small business? What's going to happen to the little guy?
Well, I'd say the same.
I have some answers. Go ahead. No,
I was saying,
Go, Chris.
from working a lot in those small to medium businesses, like the idea of having a SOC just seems like might as well just have a unicorn in the office. Like, that's just not going to happen. You know, like, it's something that'd be nice. It's usually like Ty was saying about how just engineers are usually roped into it and overloaded. Or maybe it's Kim. One of you guys said. But, like, there's every company I ever worked at, the security is either, if it's there, it's not real security. It's like policy and checklists. But, like, it's usually like the engineers that have to take on that responsibility for some reason.
What's going on, Phil? So
Hey, Phil's
I think
joining us as soon as his audio connects.
I think it brings us back to a couple things that we talked about earlier. The fact that it's not going to stop. And then two, what are we going to do about it? Like, I feel like if there were severe repercussions to crime, then there would be less crime. Right?
But how do you provide repercussions to foreign entities?
Exactly. So I was just going to say, with
And
people, general population always handles that, right? Like, don't separate them, put them in gym pop. But you can't do that over a network.
And that becomes a foreign policy decision. That
Right.
becomes a foreign policy issue of what is a proportional response to a nation state actor attack.
Right.
But what if it's not nation state? How do you attribute it to nation state? What if it's just someone from another country?
Oh, that's never
Right.
stopped us before
So-
from deciding.
I was getting to all that, and I know it's a touchy subject, and no one wants to talk about, like, kinetic responses and
I will.
you know.
I'll talk about it.
Prior
And all
military.
that,
Hold up. I
right?
believe 1,
What-
2,
So-
3, 4. At least 4 of us are prior military, so we'll talk about it.
Well, no, the
But you
aspect
got to
of
make
it,
sure
what-
your attribution is right, and it goes back to the policy to where it's clear to everyone that if you do this, this is what's going to happen. If we catch you doing this, no questions asked, we're going to have some people press a couple buttons, and this is what's going to happen.
match their damn energy.
Well,
And I
so
know it's a
anything
touchy
else.
subject.
So,
Well, it is a
not to
touchy
cut anybody
subject,
off. Hold up, Dave. Not
Go
to
ahead,
cut anybody
go ahead.
off. Phillip Wylie has finally joined us. He's been busy. He's been in a meeting. And yes, I missed you, Phil, because I was really looking forward to being on here earlier, but I got it. Meetings happen, work happens. So we're talking about, let's be honest, of course, Sunburst and Solaris and just everything that's come about from it and how we can approach it and fix it and fix everything in the process. And honestly, that's where we're at. But before we get into that, just real quick, please make it as quick as possible because I'm already over an hour. Beyond making the pen test blueprint with Kim, which, you know, Chris already has, and from what I've seen, it's amazing. What else do you have going on? And then we'll get right back into Solaris. Oh, geez, Davin has it too. And we'll get right back into this Solaris and get your opinion on it before I end the show.
Okay. Yeah, as far as what else I got going on, I'm an offensive security professional and an offensive security educator. I run the Pwn School Project, which is a meetup group geared more towards education. So that's kind of where I'm at. I had an interesting meeting tonight because the meeting was actually someone that's trying to provide education to underprivileged groups. So I was kind of talking to him, giving him some ideas. He's a former former Oakland Raider football player. So that was kind of cool. He's really passionate about education and trying to educate some of these kids that don't have the opportunities otherwise.
Yeah, definitely. And it's something, I believe me and you talked about that in chat prior to this. I believe it was yesterday. So that's definitely something I think me and you need to get more involved with as far as educating the younger generation, especially high school, middle school, elementary school. I'd like to go back to elementary school anyways because sometimes they're smarter than us when it comes to these things anymore. But, you know, it's crazy. So, like I said, we've been talking about SolarWinds. And before I end the show, now that you're on here, I've got to get your take. I really do. What is your take on SolarWinds, the breach, what's going on with, you're looking, FireEye says globally. I have another article my buddy shared about Microsoft finally admitted they were hit by it. There's a bunch of companies out there. How do we, what's your take on it, and how do we fix the supply chain issue of just this implicit trust between us and SolarWinds or any other company out there when it comes to updates?
Yeah, I guess one of the things that you really need to do is make sure that their products are being tested thoroughly, and, you know, maybe even in your environments, test, you know, the infrastructure that it's hosted on. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. It's interesting that everyone was worried about Kaspersky being a risk and ended up being a U.S. software company that was breached and used by the Russians to gain access to those systems.
Well, and you just said it right there. So you immediately say the Russians, and to my knowledge, that has not been validated.
Yeah,
completely validated. Though we have seen a lot of articles out there that immediately attributed it to them within like a half hour to an hour. And I said that earlier. Literally within 30 minutes to an hour of this coming out, there were articles out there saying it was the Russians. And then we saw China, and, you know, so what is your take on how can you prevent it though? So even if you bring it into your system, your operating system trusts that certificate from Solaris. Everything trusted it. So how do we put in place measures to defend against it? Now, from what I'm seeing to FireEye, it called out the C2 servers and did us all of this other stuff. But how do we defend against something that's implicitly trusted by our operating system?
Yeah, it's kind of tough. I don't speak Blue Team.
How would you penetrate that system to bypass their digital signing or whatever? There we go. I put it into red team language. It's really late here. It's like 11:15 p.m. and I'm not.
Yeah, it's
so
11:15 here too, and I swear I'm gonna get yelled at, but it's okay.
So I'm gonna like Phil answer, like keep on going, but I'm backing out. So
Yeah, it's fine. We're gonna get ending here. Look, Kim, I love you. It's great to have you on here again. Everybody, I love you. Phil, I'm glad you joined us at the last minute. I did want to get you on here and at least get out there what you're doing. Let's be honest. Everything going on between SolarWinds, FireEye, the government, and everything else going on in the world is nuts right now. All right. So when we look at the red team perspective of things, do we foresee, and while you're on here, I'd love to get your opinion on it before I go, do we foresee this SolarWinds thing hanging around for others to be able to take advantage of in the near future?
Yeah, I would think that it would. I would think so.
So, but with that, is that because of a lack of patching, or SolarWinds not doing their due diligence to fix their mistake? Because this came down to SolarWinds being notified last year of their issue and not fixing it.
It could be a combination. And a lot of companies you see that they don't patch things. I mean, performing pen tests for companies, it's crazy. You'll do a pen test and go back and retest a year later or 90 days later, and sometimes these things aren't remediated, so it's on the companies. Too many times it's a checkbox. We performed our pen test, our annual pen test, and they're not really concerned with remediating stuff.
We accept the risk.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's the thing, right? So
it's a valid risk technique. You can accept it as much as you want.
As someone on the offensive
you got
side,
that money, you can accept it.
I believe I have 4 people that do offensive work. Myself, I do it as well.
I'm frequently offensive, but I don't do the work.
Oh, that's great.
But with that, right, we see it all the time. Even when I was on Blue Team, I'll accept the risk. And no matter what you do, I see pen tests so many times more so as a vulnerability assessment. Not, even if you break in, even if you laterally move, it's, I had a pen test, okay, I'm good, I'm not going to fix anything. I'll accept the risk. No matter what you do.
The
So many
medical
times I see
analogy?
companies check the box. So what are these regulations doing for us that say I've been pen tested, that say I have a firewall, that say I have a SIM? What are they really doing?
So do the letters, it's still an evolving thing, but do the letters CMMC mean anything in this group?
We
Or
have
is
that in
it-
my company. Well, the company I work for. It's not mine. I work for
The
it.
medical analogy is, how do you get somebody to take seriously the fact that their lab results said that they have high cholesterol?
What's that?
That's the prevention. I mean, I've got a family of medical people and cardiologists I know says, I mean, the costs of preventing the first heart attack are a hell of a lot cheaper than treating the second and third heart attack. So how do you get people to take seriously their risk factors? They don't think it's going to happen to them.
For their brothers and sisters start having heart attacks, they'll start having a bit more give a damn, and that's the unfortunate reality of it.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the big thing. I hate companies seeing check the box. But look, guys, it's been well over an hour. Phillip, like I said, I'm glad you were able to join us. Look, New Year's Eve, I'm doing another episode. So please join us then if you can. I don't know what time yet. I'll send you an invite. I got to see what's going on for myself. Everybody else, look, I send it out on Twitter all the time. You guys are welcome to join when I do these big episodes. So until then, this is Security Happy Hour. Look, please check the description down below for everybody's contact information, and go ahead and hit that little subscribe button, hit that bell to be alerted anytime I go live. And if you wouldn't mind, all the ways you can support me are in the description as well. And I will catch you all next time.
Can I say one last thing?